When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hey guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fanfiction story. We're going to continue where we last left off. The next few days, Shoka would stay by Izuku's side when she moved him to her personal quarters. When she's not in her quarters, her most trusted maids would keep an eye on Izuku when she's busy with her responsibilities as the spy master for the city. Shoka made a habit of cuddling up with Izuku during the time when she does sleep. As a pure blood, they don't need to sleep for a very long time to be fully rested. But she took a liking to cuddling up with Izuku. She likes his body heat that he gives out. Most vampires would believe that Shoka has feeling for Izuku. She does care about him, but nothing romantic. They're just extremely close. It only took 2 weeks for Izuku to awaken from his medical-induced coma. Shoka was reading a book until she heard movements coming from her bed. Shoka saw Izuku open up his eyes and try to sit up as she helped him up as she called one of the maids to bring in a glass of water. Once the maid returned with the water, Shoka helped Izuku drink the water slowly. Thank you, Shoka. I'm alive. That's a plus. You idiot. You had me scared. As she finally embraced Izuku in a tight hug. Sorry about that, Shoka, for scaring you. I had to think on the spot, and I would rather be injured than seeing you get hurt. Does anything hurt? Pretty much everything. Getting impaled by silver spikes would do that to you. If you're cracking jokes, then then you must be all right. If you're making smart-ass remarks. But in all seriousness, Shoka, how long was I out? A couple weeks. I had to use my blood to jumpstart your regeneration process. The spikes that you were impaled with had hexes on it to interrupt rapid generation to pure bloods. Apparently, it works good as well on you as a vampire. Even your impressive Midoriya regeneration was halted. So my aunt was right. Vampire blood does have a healing factor to it. That it does, as long as you don't die, and if you don't have a good amount of in your system, you won't be able to turn into a vampire. That's the least I could do. After all, you saved my own life. You're my friend. I would do it again without hesitation. That's one of many of your qualities that I find quite precious. Now the mushy stuff is all taken care of. I want you to stay bedridden until I'm satisfied you're back at 100%. and no arguing. You might be strong, Izuku, but I can easily force you to stay in bed if I deem it necessary. As she crossed her arms against her chest, like it was already decided. I have a feeling you're not going to let this go, are you? Not likely, my friend. I'm doing this because I'm concerned about your health. Fine, I surrender, Shoka. That's good. Shoka smiled warmly at Izuku. As the days turned into weeks, Shoka got in the habit of feeding Izuku, even though he's fully capable of feeding himself with his own strength. She has been extremely stubborn on the idea that she has to feed him his food, so he doesn't have to waste any energy. The time they spent with each other, they've only got closer to each other. They form a very strong bond towards each other, more stronger than before. After staying bedridden for an entire month, Izuku was given his final medical check over after Shoku got the results from her brother. She was satisfied enough that he's at 100%. So she told Izuku to take it easy for the next few weeks. She forbid him to do any serious training. It was quite a sight for the other vampires in the palace to see the Ice Queen nag at the Midoriya like a elder sister, while her twin brother Shoto couldn't help but laugh at the situation. He found the whole scenario hilarious. A vampire hunter being scolded by a vampire. It was extremely amusing to Shoto. After he was medical cleared, Izuku was sitting down in one of the lounge areas in the palace, drinking some tea with Shoka. Shoka briefly stared at Izuku. Then she closed her eyes and sipped some of her tea from her teacup. As she placed the document on the table, Izuku raised an eyebrow at Shoka as he took the document and opened it up and began to read through it thoroughly. Considering you're fully recovered, I believe it's time for you to go on your first hunt. This document has the details of the job. There's a large nest of vampires that needs to be exterminated. This was a request from the Vampire Queen herself. Surprisingly, the humans themselves asked for assistance in this matter. It's quite amusing, really. My mother has a good relationship with the Queen, and apparently the Queen mentioned it, and my mother brought it to my attention. Considering I'm sponsoring a hunt, considering you're my hunter now, so she passed the job along to me. And I figured this would be the best opportunity to knock the cobwebs since your injury that you just recovered from. Let's see what we have here. After reading the information about the job, he closed the documents and placed it down on the glass table. Why ask us? Shouldn't the humans be able to handle this? After all, the nest is in their city, after all. It was a request from someone called Principal Nezu. If I remember right, he's some sort of Canaria, I believe. My father mentioned that a couple times in passing. It's a simple job. Contact the employer, get the information from the Chimera, then execute the hunt, then return to the Chimera upon your completion of your hunt, then head back here. Then I should have all the funds together to put on your blood card for your services. I will be taking a slightly cut so I can invest the money into several different things we need that needs to be built or formed to make this a proper hunter team. How big a nest are we talking about? Because the mission details it's very vague on the numbers. I do apologize for that. I'll make sure I'll get all the details in the future. You're going to have to go back towards the village again. And I do believe you still have some unfinished business with village chief Kami Woods. That's true, I need to pay him a visit on my way. Here's the GPS device. As she hands over a small black device over to Izuku, it already has the destination programmed into the GPS. This device will show you the direct way towards the human city. Very well. When do I leave? Tomorrow. I want you to stay by my side until then. Very well. I wouldn't dream of denying you, Princess. So I see you're catching on. Shoko linked her hands with Izuku. Walk with me. I would highly appreciate your company. I have no problem with that. But what about your duties? I can put all my duties for hold for one day. I want to spend some time with you before you leave. As they walk around the palace, just conversating with each other, ignoring everyone else, like they are in their own little world. Ever since the day he got injured, Shoka basically ordered Izuku to sleep in her bed every night with her. She never once fed off him, even though Izuku could see the temptation on her face on several occasions. Even if she drank his blood, he completely trusts her for not to drain him dry. That's how much trust he has in Shoka. Izuku could tell the main dominated aspect of her personality is she's very disciplined. He's never seen Shoka live feed before. Izuku found it odd but didn't question it too much. It's none of his business, really. It's none of his concern of her eating habits. As we cut to the next day, Shoka still has a grip around Izuku's arm, while she's standing in front of the front gate leading to the lift where they exit the city. You know you're going to have to let go of me at some point. Shut up, I'm trying to enjoy your warmth while you're here. Do you have everything? Got my sword and my survival backpack with all my necessary resources? And with my blood card. That still has a good quality money on it. Take this. Isn't this a cell phone? Yes. This so we can remain in contact. Contact me as soon as you get to the human city. And keep me updated on your progress. Of course. I mean it, Izuku. Izuku lost his carefree expression and as he shifted to a serious one. I know you're worried. If things get out of hand, I'll contact you immediately. I'll make sure to keep you updated on my progress. That's all I wanted to hear. Be safe and good luck on your hunt. Don't worry, I have everything under control. As he waved Shoka off, goodbye, basically, as he got into the lift door shut, as he started to ascend to the main level. When the lift finally stopped, Izuku began to walk out of the lift and head into the military base that is used as a front. Izuku noticed several vampire warlocks and witches centered centered all around the military base. He gave them a nod as he walked past. They gave him a nod in return. As he finally approached the exit of the abandoned military base, as he begins his travel back to the town, back to the original town or village he visited prior when he set a barrier around the whole village. By now, the barrier is no longer active, so he's hoping they're doing alright. Izuku doesn't have enough money to purchase a vehicle yet, even though Shoka offered to buy him one. He politely refused. He has no desire to leech off Shoka's kindness. He has far more respect towards her to do such a thing. He has no desire to take advantage of their friendship in that form. After a day of walking, he found himself back into the familiar area as he sees the abandoned hotel in the distance, approaching fast. He decided to sleep there for the night. He knows from experience it's not a smart move to travel during the night. He doesn't want to repeat what happened last time when he was in this area. He opened one of the doors of the hotel rooms on the second story and shut the door and placed a barrier over the door itself alongside with the windows. As he lay down on the bed, reading a book, the hotel seemed to still have running power through it. After reading about human laws in the city where he's going to have to hunt in, he shut the book and shut off the lights and turned in for the night. Surprisingly, he barely heard any howls from the feral werewolves. It was oddly quiet. He slowly drift off into slumber. The next morning, he did his daily exercises with his sword. After a good workout, he used the running water that's still running through the hotel for some reason, and showered. After his long hot shower, he continued his journey. About 4 hours has passed since he left the abandoned, hotel. As basically 4 hours later, he sees the old abandoned gas station. He saw several humans scavenging all around the abandoned gas station. He kept his distance so they never bothered him. As he continued to walk down the street, until several of the scavengers parked their vehicles in front of him and behind him, blocking him in. As majority of all of them step out of their vehicles with melee weapons, mixture between bats and pipes. A couple of them have chains. If you want to be specific, they have metal chains. As the leader spoke up, hand over your valuables in that nifty little sword of yours on your wrist, or your waist. Then we might allow you to live, kid. We do appreciate you not disturbing us when we were scavenging at the gas station, but sadly, we can't allow a prime target to walk away free like that. No offense, kid, but give us your shit, or we'll kill you. I suggest you go back into your vehicle and fuck off. It'll be a lot more healthier for you and your little friends. To look at a spunk on that one, fellas. As they all laugh at Izuku. Minor threat. But seriously, kid. Hand over your shit. I'm starting to understand why Shoka hates humans so much. Very well, if you want to die so badly, Allow me to send you off. As he slowly unsheathed his sword, as he gets into a swordsman stance, ready to do a quick draw. So you want to do things the hard way, kid. Don't blame us if we give you a nasty boo-boo. Take him. Pathetic fools. As soon as the first three got close enough to Izuku, he swung his sword so fast they couldn't even see him draw his sword out of his sheath. As the three men heads fall off their bodies, as the bodies drop to the ground, as the heads roll. Listen to me and listen to me well. You have two options here. Get the hell in my sight, or die. Your choice. Kill the brat. I guess we're going with option 2 then. So be it. When every single member of the scavengers rushed towards the Izuku except the leader, Izuku disappeared as you see flashes of cut slashes scattered all around them as Izuku reappeared right behind the leader and swung his sword, chopping his head off. As he sheathed his katana, slowly all of the heads fall off the bodies of the scavengers, including their leader. As the moment you heard a click noise from his sheath, all the heads drop from their bodies. Izuku begins to walk away from the scene, only for him to stop in the middle of the road as he looks back at the vehicle, as he had a grin on his face. I suppose these fellows won't miss it, considering they're all dead. Considering all the humans are dead, he took the advantage of the situation and stole one of the cars. Luckily, the keys were in the vehicle. Once he put the keys in an ignition and start the car, he immediately turned on the car and began to drive. After he checked how much fuel was in the vehicle, Izuku was extremely lucky that it had a full tank. After a few trial and errors, driving the vehicle without stalling the gears. After 40 minutes of driving, Izuku saw the huge wooden gates of the village approaching from the scenery. The moment he drove up to the gate, he got out of the passenger or the driver's seat car and met the two guards. As they nod at Izuku and open up the large wooden gates, Izuku got back into the vehicle and drove in and parked the car pretty close to the entry of the village, as Izuku was quite surprised to see Kami Woods already there to greet him. Welcome back, my friend. It's good to see you in good health as well. I hope everything's been going all right. It's been quite quiet the past couple nights. Your barrier managed to disappear a few days ago. There was plenty of time to repair the wall and add to the defenses that needed to be placed. I heard you got quite close to the Todorokis. They're a lovely family for a family filled with vampires. They were quite kind to me. Heard a little rumor that Lady Shoka has took an interest in you. Surprised gossip traveled so far. For the short time I know Shoka, we've got quite close. Very quickly. Here's all the information that I gathered up in Japan. All the all the information is on the tablet. You just have to keep it charged. As he hand over the charger and tablet. God damn it. Give me a second, guys. Most appreciated. As he put the tablet as he put the tablet in his survival backpack. If you're still interested in my barriers, we can go over we can go over the finer details. I would love that. Please follow me. Let's discuss the finer details over some tea. Zuko did notice everyone he's met so far loves drinking tea, but he doesn't mind. He quite enjoys the taste of tea. He still hasn't found his main favorite flavor tea yet, so he followed Kami Woods back to his huge hut. As the two sat down in the lodge area of the cabin and drank tea while they began discussing the finer details. After putting Shoka on speaker, they knocked out all the minor details of the deal as they made a sealed tight contract. Izuku will create a magical barrier that will last for entire 2 months. Kami would provide reasonable. Well, try that again. Izuku price his barrier that will last 2 months at a reasonable price, so the village could easily afford it. Izuku called the end of the call immediately and walked out of the hut and placed his hand in the middle on the ground in the middle of the village and created a more powerful version of a magical barrier that he did prior. This barrier will last 2 months, as the rest of the villagers are relieved to see the barrier back up. As he said goodbye and continued on his mission, as Izuku stopped for the night at he saw a miniature city approaching. It's still getting kind of dark. It's about 7 o'clock in the afternoon. The moon will be fully up in about an hour. Izuku entered the abandoned town as he drove his car very slowly when he entered the ghost city, or the ghost town. Izuku parked his car at a safe location, put the keys in his pocket, and immediately got out of the vehicle and went onto the street. As he could feel something nearby, like he's being watched, so he looked around the small town with curiosity and a bit of worriness of his surroundings. All he could hear his own footsteps as he's walking down the empty streets of the ghost town. Izuku is approaching to a local bar as the neon lights above the door that say open flicker from on and on. Izuku decided to check it out. He let his curiosity get the best of him. The moment he stepped into the bar, he saw the room filled with ghouls, snacking on several humans that are already dead. As all of them turned their head towards Izuku. Don't mind me, apparently I have the wrong place. Continue with your meal. Izuku laughed nervously and slowly tried to back off out of the bar, only for him to be boxed in on all sides. As the rest of the ghouls turned their attention towards Izuku, as drool is coming from their mouths, seeing the new fresh meal in front of them. Now boys, I know I look tasty, but I'm not too healthy for you. I'll give you a killer heartburn. Izuku noticed all of them getting up off their floor. Why always I find myself in this sort of situation? Of course, I had to go get curious and enter an abandoned bar filled with flesh-eating ghouls. I really have to. I really have the worst luck. Well, my flesh-eating friends, who wants to play first? Easy to draw out his sword as the two ghouls drop dead behind him as their heads roll on the ground. The moment the two ghouls were killed behind Izuku, immediately they all pounce on Izuku without no hesitation. Izuku cut them down one after another, as there seems to be no end to the ghouls, as more just keep rushing out of the back room. Izuku hasn't read the information in the tablet that he was given by the village chief, Kami Woods. If he did, he would have known he just walked into a nest of ghouls that took over the city, killing all the townsfolk. And anyone entering this little city are the ghouls' prey. Ultimately, everyone was killed that ever entered the city, regardless if they're feral werewolves or vampires or humans. Izuku was left with no choice but to jump out the window to get out of the building. He was starting to get overwhelmed. Izuku immediately noticed a group of ghouls walking out of the dark alleyway and down the street. Several ghouls jumping out the windows of several buildings. Izuku even saw a couple ghouls coming out of the sewer drains. Izuku scanned his surroundings in the corner of his eye. He saw his vehicle surrounded by ghouls, so escaping by vehicle is no longer possible, currently. A couple of ghouls launch at Izuku, only for them to get their heads chopped off their bodies. The only part of the street that isn't occupied by a group of ghouls is the parking garage. To his right, a few buildings down, Izuku immediately bolted towards the parking garage, running and jumping over a few ghouls. The moment he touched the ground, he went into a roll and continued his run, immediately unsheathed his sword and began slashing incoming ghouls that were heading towards his direction. The moment the monsters jumped in the middle of the air, Izuku easily sliced the creatures in half without even stop moving. When Izuku finally got to the parking garage and made his way running into it, getting to the third level of the parking garage, he saw a humanoid figure coming flying into the garage at the same level. He immediately created a barrier around the parking garage. He saw the figure jump down on the same level. He was too slow to activate his barrier, as an incoming attack with a sword came rushing at him. He was left with no choice but to block the blow, as he sees a blonde girl with a pure red katana, like crimson. Not bad. This is going to be so much fun. While Toga was still in the air, she was still crossing blades with Izuku, as the two swords were grinding against each other, as Toga used his chance to land one of her feet into Izuku's chest, as Izuku goes flying backwards, as she watches the vampire hunter dove his sword into the ground, stopping his momentum. Izuku bolted, breaking some of the cement from underneath him. Izuku slashed forward, only to see the blonde red blade katana, or her katana, meet his sword as sparks begins to appear from their swords, clashing with each other, as they both have a smile on their face. By their expression, They're extremely enjoying this battle. Izuku's more psychotic persona emerges. When the blonde vampire swung her sword, Izuku sidestepped her swung and grabbed onto her wrist and rammed his elbow into her face, making her shoot backwards from the impact, slamming as she was forced to slam her sword into the pavement to stop her momentum, getting thrown off the building. They're still in the middle level of the parking garage. Toga couldn't help but have a smirk on her face. So you like your rough? Sure, I'll play along, my little vampire hunter. Try to last as long as you can, my precious. With insane speed, she cut the distance between them instantly and swung her sword downwards, leaving Izuku only enough time to block, making him bend down to one knee as Toga is increasing her physical strength, making the ground crack underneath Izuku. As she slammed her foot across his face, making him shoot backwards, hitting the solid wall. As Toga slowly lowered her leg after her kick, as she watches Izuku, in amusement, get up to his feet, wiping the dirt off his cheek, where she just kicked him across the face with her foot. Before Izuku could fully recover and get the cobwebs out of his head, took a flash right in front of him and slammed her knee into his stomach, then land a spin kick across his face, making him almost break through the solid stone wall. Toga just skipped backwards to get some distance, like she's having a time of her life, like she has no worries whatsoever. Let's make this more interesting, shall we? Izuku watched her cut her hand with her own sword as blood begins to flow out of her palm of her hand, eventually form into a copy of her sword that she has in her right hand. This ability she just shown to Izuku is her clan ability. She's able to create blades out of her own blood and able to shapeshift to anyone at will. She just needs a sample of their blood. The slightest drop of blood, she'll be able to transform in that form for several days. The more blood she consumes, the longer she could have the disguise activated. The problem from shapeshifting, she's always returned to her original form, pure naked. She still hasn't figured out to resolve that little issue, but she doesn't mind. Izuku was surprised at first, then he has a grin on his face as he drove his sword into the ground as another black katana gets drawn out of the palm of his hand. As he picked up the sword that he slammed into the cement and went into a swordsman stance, dual wielding his black silver katanas. You're not the only one that can create blades at will. You're pretty good for a vampire. I do appreciate it. I do like compliments. And you're not too shabby yourself, for a human. But we both know you're not some normal human. After all, you're a Midoriya. You Midoriyas are built differently. My cute little vampire hunter. Figured you would catch on eventually. You would be hard to find a vampire that doesn't know about your clan. You've made a lot of enemies around the world. And personal. I do enjoy our little spar. But is this some sort of revenge thing? Did I kill someone you know or love? Outside of a couple vampires and other creatures, I don't think I've killed enough vampires and werewolves or ghouls or on the rare occasion of a human that I know of. I'm not crossing blades with you for such a stupid reason. I've been looking forward to cross blades with you for a while now. I'm doing this because it's fun and I enjoy it. So, shall we, my vampire hunter friend? Let's get back to it. It's not nice to keep a girl waiting. I'm truly sorry, princess. As Izuku bowed mockingly at Toga, only to hear Toga giggle at his display. At the same time, they both rushed towards each other as they swung their swords, as their swords collide, making sparks of light from their sword colliding. When their swords collide, making contact with each other. As you can see, sword flashes on the ground walls of the parking garage as they're battling up the higher levels of the building. As you can see, sword flashes all over the walls and floor and ceiling of the building as they're traveling to the higher levels of the building while trying to land a solid sword slash on each other. When they're about to get on the top floor of the parking garage, Toga jumped in the middle of the air and did a spin slice with both of her swords, forcing Izuku to block her strike, crossing his blades together. Forcing Izuku to block, basically, only for Toga to slam her foot in a spin kick across Izuku's face, kicking him several times in the air, making him go flying across the ground, skidding across the top level of the parking garage. Izuku used his hands to get off the ground and backflip, barely missing the two swords, slamming into the ground where he was just a second ago. If Izuku didn't flip out of the way, he would have been impaled immediately. Izuku doubt he would enjoy that experience. Izuku begins dodging sword swings coming towards him from Toga. Despite his impressive speed, he couldn't dodge all the sword swings, getting nicks all over his body. Izuku briefly tapped into his hunter strength for a couple seconds as he shattered one of Toga's sword as she was forced to backflip, barely missing a kick that was going towards her face. As she did a backflip somersault to get some distance away from Izuku. Now that's what I'm talking about. You're getting stronger and faster. I knew you were something special. Izuku rushed forward towards Toga without another word and swung his sword, shattering Toga's only weapon as she kicked upwards, kicking Izuku's left hand, making him lose the grip of the sword. As Toga caught the sword in the middle of the air and swung downwards towards Izuku, forcing Izuku to block the black silver sword from chopping him in half. It's only fair you destroyed my swords. It's only fair that I use yours. It's quite beautiful, actually. Time to get serious, cutie. As she was about to attack, Toga's phone goes off as she takes it out of her pocket. Hold one moment, dear. This won't take me long. This is Toga. I got it. I understand. I'll be on my way. As she ends the call and put the phone back in her pocket, as she rests the black silver katana against her shoulder. Sadly, our time had to be cut short, darling. Thanks for showing a girl a good time. We're definitely going to have to do this again. And I'll be keeping this sword as a momentum in honor of our first meeting. I'll treasure it. At the end of time, Toga turned around and swung her sword towards the barrier as she cut right through the barrier, destroying it. As she fell backwards, turning into a flip as she's falling off the building, as she lands on all fours, as she makes her way towards the exit of the small town, slashing any ghoul that got in her way. As Izuku watches several of the ghouls chase after her. Izuku leaned against the edge of the building. I'm probably not going to get that sword back. The way she moved and how powerful she was, she's definitely not your average vampire. That only leads to one possible conclusion. A pureblood. I got lucky. One problem done. Now I have to deal with the other one. To get to my vehicle. Without getting spotted by the very hungry, bloodthirsty ghouls. And get the hell out of the town with my life intact. Guess there's no rest for the wicked. As Izuku got up, he made his way to the first floor of the parking garage eventually. Luckily for Izuku, a portion of the ghouls are chasing Toga, leaving Izuku wide open to get to his car. He immediately ran to his car, jumped into the driver's seat, and immediately peeled off as he slammed his foot down on the gas. As he begins driving, peeling out, running over several ghouls with his vehicle that got in his way as he bolted out of the abandoned city. After driving a little bit, he stopped at the side of the road as he decided to search the vehicle a little more, as he found a few firearms tucked in the trunk of the car and a few melee weapons in the back seat. There's a good amount of ammo in the trunk. As he took out the pistol and checked the clip, only to see that the clip is empty, including there's no bullet in the chamber. As he took a loaded clip and loaded the gun up and put it on safety, he found a holster in the trunk of the car, so he wrapped it around his waist and placed the gun behind his back, ready to draw at the slightest moment, as he could easily reach behind his back and pull out the firearm. As he got back into the vehicle and drove off, he immediately approached the human city, surrounded by a huge cement wall across the boundaries of the city limits. Guard towers are scattered on the wall itself. After a brief explanation to the guards standing in front of the solid steel doors, leaving the only exit and entryway of the city, after giving his documents over to them, they open the steel doors, allow him to drive through. According to my mission details, my employer is at a place called UA. Izuku texts Shoka of his arrival at the human city. He's on his way to meet the Chimera. While driving is probably not the smartest idea, so he briefly apologized to Shoka for not being able to call, but she understands the situation. So she texts informing him to keep her updated. Izuku saw a huge campus. He found a parking spot for his vehicle and made his way to the entryway of the school. He saw a small rodent wearing some sort of suit waiting for him with a smile that Izuku believes is a smile. He's not really sure. He's never seen Minnie Mouse's smile. Good afternoon. You must be the hunter. Please follow me, so we can discuss the finer details in my office in private. How are you enjoying the city so far? It's quite a lovely place. You must be my employer. Indeed I am. The increasing vampire attacks is making the general population jumpy. I'm glad you're here so we can finally settle this problem. What exactly is this place? This is UA University, a campus that's designed to train future heroes of the next generation. I'm quite proud of what I accomplished here so far. You followed Nezu to his office as they both sat down at a small table while Nezu made some tea and poured tea in 2 teacups as he set them on a table and began to sip the tea in pure silence. Let's get introductions out of the way. I am Nezu, the principal and founder of UA. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Izuku Midoriya, vampire hunter that's branching out to other supernatural species. And of course, you're aware of my handler, Shoka Todoroki. Isn't that curious? A Midoriya willingly working with a pure-blood vampire. You're definitely an interesting hunter. Most Midoriyas, on principle, would rather kill a vampire than actually work with one. No matter. I find you very interesting, but shall we get down to business, young Midoriya? As that's where we're going to stop to this part. Hope you guys have a good night and day, judging by time zones, and I'll catch you in the next video.